Now, Lord Blunkett, who is Home Secretary under Labour, has urged Sir Keir Starmer to introduce a biometric digital ID to tackle the small boats crisis. Labour tried this before, of course, in the old-fashioned way with an actual card in 2008, but the idea was roundly rejected by the British public. This time, they want to get them through on the idea that they could stop the small boats. Joseph, do you think they would?
They absolutely would not stop the small boats. Isn't it interesting how limits on our freedoms can be packaged up as something we like? People are worried about the small boats, they're worried about illegal immigration, and now all of a sudden ID cards can help where nothing else could. I would say that unfortunately, this was a ploy by Labour to limit freedoms, Blairite Labour, to limit freedoms and collect information. We would still be subject to the same treaties that we are now. We would still have the same coalition of left-wing lawyers and activists who prevent planes taking off when people are trying to be deported. So I think it's actually a load of nonsense. There's no way it would help.
This is a Tony Blair pet project, James, and we know that he's very influential with Keir Starmer behind the scenes at the moment, and actually also in public-facing roles as well. Every time Tony Blair talks about this, he's one of the very few people, I have to say, who is honest about the intentions of the global leaders to push through a biometric. At least he tells us it's what he wants. And every time he talks about it, he said it will be tied to your vaccine status. It will be a health card of sorts with conditions attached. But are they just therefore trying to get it in under the guise of, oh, well, you're all frightened of the boat people, let's just stop this with, when they step aboard, we'll scan their eye, we'll give them an ID, problem solved?
Yeah, of course, and they've been through so many different iterations. I mean, they started pushing this idea now more than 20 years ago when they were in government, and it was part of an unpleasant authoritarian streak that there was in the Labour government, in the Blair Labour government. And yes, they said it would deal with immigration. It would make the welfare system more efficient. It would make interfacing with public services easier. Then they said it was going to stop organised crime. It was going to stop terrorism, as if, you know, the one group of people that you can guarantee are going to be able to get themselves a counterfeit ID card are going to be organised crime. I mean, it's a top-down assault on our liberties. In the most benign way you can look at it, it's to make the administration of us easier. Yeah. That's the most benign way you can look at it, and then you can look at it in some less benign ways.
You could argue that with a global population growing enormously every year, maybe humanity needs some sort of organisation. Maybe we need a little filing system.
We are organised enough. The last thing we need is an obligatory ID card. It's the mark not of a free country. It's very alien to everything that we've ever done here.
Except the young people.
But what I would add is that what we don't need is additional bureaucracy. If you want to solve the migrant crisis, you need a willingness to act. You need to actually bring in some policies around what happens if you come here and you jump the queue. And you need a way of actually deporting people to with a viable scheme which will actually work. An ID card, it's just a red herring. It's got nothing to do with it.
In his article that he's written in the Daily Mail today, and Lord Blunkett clearly feels very strongly about this, he says that it would smash the human trafficking gangs if those people coming ashore knew that it would be either an eyeball or a face scan or a fingerprint, and then they would be monitorable. They would be able to be monitored. Does he have any sort of point? I'm trying to be optimistic.
I really don't think so. The idea is that you would need this card in order to access services.
And of course, it wouldn't be your card. It would start on your phone.
It will start on your phone, and as you say, it will then get linked up to more and more things. There aren't actual people who work. Let's say the services that people use. There are no doctors who work in the NHS who say, oh, I know what will help us be able to see our patients sooner. I know what's going to deal with the 8 a.m. rush for people to call up their GPs. Oh, this new thing that we have to, this new bit of technology that's going to cost billions that we have to engage with. No actual frontline services are saying this is what we need to deliver our services better. It's this very odd small group of politicians who have been pushing this idea in these different forms at different times. It's not practical, and exactly as you said, it's against our traditions. We're meant to be born free. We're not meant to have a policeman come up to you and say, where are your papers? It's not right.
One of the chilling things that Lord Blunkett says in this article is that when he was Home Secretary, he said, I introduced an experimental ID scheme that produced dramatic results. I don't quite remember what those dramatic results were, but maybe I was doing. If Britain had kept the system and developed it, the small boat scandal might never have happened. And he regrets that he didn't introduce it, first of all, with teenagers. He said, with hindsight, I should have enlisted teenagers first, offering them free passports at 16 with an ID card alongside. I mean, I find that really sinister.
No, it is sinister.
It's because they wouldn't know anything different.
Yeah. Correct.
So they would...
And he said, and by
you're just
now...
told, if you want to travel, this is the way you do it.
Well, by now, they would be in their mid-30s and they would automatically have been enrolled into the system. Well, thank goodness it didn't work. But now, when I say about the youth, they are so used to, particularly since 2020, the idea that the government tells you what to do and they tie it to your vax passport as it was during the pandemic. I don't think there will be the resistance from the younger generation that we might want to see.
Well, luckily, we're an ageing population, and as we did with Scotland, the older people will bring sanity. Should it come to it, but it won't, and it just goes to show you, if you believe in an idea strongly enough, you'll keep putting it back. No matter how much society has changed or how much people don't want it, you'll find a way to bring it back.
I mean, look, we're all facing the hassle of tech at the moment. Like, nothing works, does it? It feels like we are in an actual interface at the moment between the past and the future, where the technology's sort of there, but it's not working. Maybe when you go and get your passport or your driving licence or you apply for something, that actually having your own identity collated with a system, connected to a system, would just make it convenient.
I don't know. I was filled in a government form today on the government website. It happened fast. It was quite easy. I just needed my national insurance number. That's something that I already have. And the thing that's nice about national insurance number, yes, I need that to do my taxes and so on, but no one can come and demand that I show them my national insurance number.
Well, let's see what Paul, our viewer, says. He said, I've lived for 3 years in a country that uses ID cards. I had one as a resident. A wonderful thing, no messing about, proving who you are with utility bills, etc. And when I had a couple of minor motoring accidents, the culprits had to give me their ID cards until they paid for the damage. Their incentive to pay was without an ID card, normal life. Their incentive to pay because without the ID card, normal life was impossible. Problem is the UK, our police don't deal with crime. It wouldn't work.
The system is functioning fine. If you get into an accident, what do you think happens now? Like, everyone stands around unable to give their details?
Who are you? I don't know.
Right, thank you, guys.